Absolutely not. I'm not a big fan of James Corden, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I get that, but I do like
a big fan.
the car karaoke.
Well, that was a little bit of an inspiration of what we're doing here.
Yeah.
That and Joe Rogan. Do you ever watch Joe Rogan?
I do.
I love Joe Rogan.
My kids take the mick out of me for watching Joe Rogan.
Really?
Yeah, it's quite funny.
They should watch it.
I know.
They would get an education.
they also think it's funny that I don't use Google, and it's funny.
Why don't you use Google? What do you use? DuckDuckGo?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm a brave man myself.
Ah, I did have Brave.
I'm a brave man.
But my kids think I'm hilarious.
Yeah. Ambulance. Did you let me out? Did you let me out? Did you let me out? Thank you very much. So we're actually quite privileged, aren't we, to have you?
Oh.
Not only in my car, but to have you in England.
Oh, I wouldn't go that far.
Well, when was the last time you were here?
Well, I had a fleeting visit in December. I was over to judge the Amateur Worlds in Poland for the WDO, and I didn't get to London. I was in Cheshire, Alan's mum and dad's, and did a little bit of teaching up there, which was really lovely. But literally London, I haven't been to London teaching or attending a competition for
since I was a little boy.
Feels like that actually. A long time.
2006, right?
Well, yeah, we moved back to Australia for good in 2006. Of course, Alan's been here, and been judging and teaching and doing all that. And this time round, it was me.
So you haven't been to England then, but apart from when you came in December. When was it? Had you been to England?
The last time was with Freya. We came with her when she was 4 months old.
Right. Okay.
But it wasn't work. It was Alan was judging Blackpool for the first time, and so we came along, and that's when I found I was pregnant. Actually,
I was there, wasn't I?
Oh my god! Because we had Freya, and I remember not feeling great, and putting her in the pram while I was off at Blackpool and doing a test as you do, and not believing it, and going back to Sainsbury's to get another one. Yeah. And you came to the door to say hello, and I was like, oh my god, I'm pregnant.
Didn't you tell me you're pregnant before you told your husband?
I did.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Marvellous.
It's
great, isn't it?
I'm pregnant again. It's like, you shouldn't be telling him. Yeah, but anyway.
Yeah, I remember that now. I'd forgotten about that. Completely forgotten.
I just thought about all the champagne I drank on the plane, coming over and thinking, oh my god,
Oh well, Kelly did that. The day before we found out we were pregnant with Ella, we'd had our Christmas party at the studio. Right. Kelly was absolutely legless. Absolutely legless. She was so drunk she fell over on the floor in the studio and everything. Oh, she was all over the shop. And then the very next day she did a test and she was pregnant. So yeah, you're all in good company.
Good company. Yeah. So it's nice to be here. It's really nice to see friends and do some teaching, and it's nice.
So how is it? Obviously you haven't worked over here as such a great deal then, have you? So things have changed a lot, haven't they?
They have.
Since you were last here. So what do you notice the most then about all the changes in the dancing? Because don't take this the wrong way, Australia's a bit of a backwater, isn't it? Really. Unfortunately, no offence to anyone who's from Australia watching this, but it's not the same, is it? Italy, London, USA are like the real hubs of dance.
Yes.
Australia kind of gets the scraps.
And it's I guess it's how you perceive it. I think we do have a lot of talent in Australia, and we've got a rich history. I mean, if you go back, how many successful Aussie dancers we had at Blackpool over the years. We've had British champions, British finalists. I mean, I remember my very first Blackpool. I don't want to put the date on it, but we came over, no lessons in the UK. We jumped straight into Blackpool, and we made the youth Latin final.
Came second,
yeah, and third in the youth world final at our first go.
Paul Wilson, right?
Yeah, Paul, and made the 24 in the amateur ballroom. And at the time, we didn't realise just how good that was. I think at the moment we're struggling a little, but I think.
So what do you put that down to? Because I mean, I remember in my time, even as a juvenile and a junior, there was loads of Australians that came over and they did really well. They're really successful. So,
yes.
And it's not as though there just suddenly isn't any talent now in Australia. So what is it? What do you think is the reason then that so many there's a lack of Australian talent overseas that aren't coming out, or are they just not being produced like they were?
Numbers are down, so
Right.
There's not as many dancers to start. I think that's the first thing, and I think cost. It's a very expensive thing to do when you're an Aussie. You know, to get here, to live, or to accommodation, cars, lessons. You know, in my day, you know, if this is the route we wanted to take, you'd get on a plane and we'd move here, which I did. I remember Timmy Housen saying to me one year at the youth at Blackpool, "Was like, I can't believe that you'd pack up home and come to another country for dancing." But that's what us Aussies did.
Yeah.
And I don't know if couples are willing to do that anymore. I don't know if the drive is there. There's a lot of other options in the business now. You know, you've got other ways to earn money, and you know that has an incentive as well. I guess, I don't know, it's funny. I always thought if I got my feather step really good, then I'd have a future. You know, earn money and travel and stuff like that, and that's the way it did work for Alan and I. But I'm not so sure that young people see that pathway anymore.
Yeah, I think dancing as a general though has changed, because amateurs always used to work to fund their dancing, and outside of dancing they'd have a normal job and things.
Correct.
So I remember, you did,
Yeah.
and I know when you moved over, you had a job.
I
Right?
did.
Yeah, and all of the Australians, or all of the overseas dancers I knew came and had a job.
Yes.
Even the English dancers had a job.
Yeah.
Whereas now, it doesn't really seem as though anyone actually works anymore. So I did not think that perhaps gives them a false sense of reality. So it doesn't keep them grounded at all. So they don't really understand what the real world's like.
I think for Aussie kids, I think that they would look at it and think, well, how do I do this? How do I pay for this? You know, and I think, you know, a normal job wouldn't really cover the costs of competing in Europe for an Australian couple.
Yeah, the cost of lessons.
Unless you've got backing from family or whatever.
Yeah, but I mean, how many people have got that kind of money to do it now? Because it is quite elitist now.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's hard to say. You know, the days of when you'd go to Blackpool and some random couple would break through from the first round to the 24 and it'd be like, whoa, what happens? I don't know if those days exist anymore. But also I think the pathway as well, especially for kids that are in Australia that are so far away, you know, what is the pathway for them to be successful internationally now? It's foggy. It's not as clear as what it was in my day. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Do you think that's because in the old days you kind of knew who you would need to go to, or where you'd need to go to become successful? So in case, like, if you came over, you said, right, you want to be successful in ballroom, you've got to have lessons with this person. You've got to have lessons with this person. Whereas now, do you think it's a little bit too spread out? There's too many studios, there's too many teachers?
I think there's a lot of hubs. I think, you know, you've got America, you've got Italy, you know, all different hubs of where you can go, and London is one of those hubs now. Whereas when I was competing, London was the hub.
Yeah.
You know, everybody was here, and I think that was a really great time as well, because we all lived in London and we all looked after each other. Yeah, there was that camaraderie.
Yeah, I got the back end of that in my career as well, because everyone's still living in London.
Yeah, so many famous dancers.
Well, they're famous now. So they weren't, were they?
Yeah,
of course.
Correct. You know,
but they were just great people and great dancers, and had a belief in themselves. And something I'm going to allude to, actually, we can talk about now, is a certain amount of individuality. Whereas now I do feel that it's just a bit of a production line, because I personally don't feel that ballroom, especially, I think it's stunted for the last number of years. It hasn't really developed. And everyone kind of looks the same. There's very few that have any sense of their own style or individual performance. Very few. I'm talking professionally, actually. They just don't have it.
It's interesting.
It's all look the same.
Yeah, one of my best friends is a top Latin person. So they're a woman.
You're allowed to say woman. Women exist.
No, it's a man. It's one of my best friends, and he just said that, you know, today you can get yourself so fit and so strong that you can get through 5 rounds looking a certain way. Sometimes bad line or whatever, but you can do it. You know, this. Is it in our day when we fell apart in a competition and without 2 minutes 30 or whatever we're getting at Blackpool, you'd go to a lesson and want to work out why you were falling apart. It wasn't, well, you need to go to the gym and you need to do stamina practice. You're working out the reasons why mechanically or posturally or centering, whatever, what was causing those things. And I don't know, maybe that is the result of all these hubs being in all different places. There's that lack of continuity of learning your product. So when we talk about, you know, coming to England and having teachers, it's like, you know, I was pretty clear, and my family were pretty clear who I was going to learn off when I came to the UK, and I was very loyal to those teachers for all of my career. And whether my teacher was judging or not, I went in for my weekly lesson, you know, and that was with the partners I had all the way through, and especially with Alan, you know, he'd get we have I can tell you now what our schedule was 20 years ago, you know, who we had on each day, and we were very loyal to the process. We were very loyal to the learning process, and I'm ever so grateful that we were, you know. And I've had teachers, actually, I was talking to Richard about it, and I remember in one year Richard had his 6th in one competition, he had his 1st in a competition, and he was right. That didn't skew whether I was going to go to him as a teacher or not. You know, we had that.
Well, you respected his opinion.
We did, and we had that with the regularity of learning your product. Yeah. I think that is so important.
And choosing a pathway as well, of course, because if you have a multitude of different teachers and they all teach in a different way, you're going to be screwed up, aren't you?
Yeah.
I think personally, as a coach's role is to nurture and develop your talent, and it doesn't necessarily have to be the way you would do it as a coach, but you've got to nurture what's in that person, haven't you?
Correct.
And I think too many people try to please their coaches and they get completely screwed up.
Do you know,
ultimately you've got to please yourself, haven't you? And then your coach has got to tell you, no, that doesn't look quite right for you, no, that does look better for you.
No, I agree with that. I never felt from the coaches that were my mentors and the ones that we really, you know, based our learning on, I never felt that they tried to make us dance in a certain way. I never felt I never felt restricted in that sense, that it had to be a certain way.
Do you think that's because you chose well, and you chose coaches that were for you without even perhaps realising you were doing that? So if you'd gone to a coach who was more aerobically based, let's say, about running and line and just belting it around the floor, and not someone who was more about the feeling and the quality and the mechanics of everything, do you think that's how you without even necessarily realising it, do you think that's perhaps the pathway you went? That's where you went because you looked at those dancers when they competed themselves and thought, I want to dance like that.
Yeah, 2 things. I think, yes, I personally, from the point of view of Alan and I don't think we would have warmed to a coach that was just about getting fit, running around the floor and holding certain line. That wouldn't have sat with us very well. Yeah. I think there's so much more to it than that. Sorry, we're talking about that. I don't think we would have gone for that.
I'm just thinking because when I was competing, I wanted to dance like you guys. So I that's how I felt I wanted to dance, because that resonated.
That's right.
Me.
That's right. That's what I was going to say.
That resonated with me. So that's why I chose to have lessons with you.
Right.
I didn't choose to have lessons with someone else who I didn't resonate with.
Yeah, correct. And I do agree with that. I do think that we resonated with the people that we went to. Definitely in terms of how they moved and how they looked. But also one more thing, I think for me, even as a young person, before I danced with Klaus, my Danish partner, and with Alan, I knew that as soon as I danced with some of these early coaches that I went to when I first came here, I wanted to feel like them.
Yeah.
It was astonishing, the feel. And it was like, wow, I've never felt this before. I need to do that. And that sort of like sparked me on my learning journey. I need to feel like that. What have I got to do to feel like that? And I think that, so yes, vision, but also feel. I think feel so important, but it was very important for me. And I knew that when I danced with these people, I was like, this is the real deal.
Yeah.
I need to learn how to do that.
So, yeah, I think a lot of the dancing in your era and, you know, before that, a little bit afterwards, was more emotive, and definitely people wanted to feel like they were enjoying themselves and enjoying the moment. I feel like, personally, I think that's lost a little bit. Everyone's worrying now about the external view of it all and not the internal feel of it. And because ultimately we're performers, we're artists, ultimately, I believe. And it's got to feel beautiful. And if it feels beautiful, there's a chance it's going to look beautiful. And I think you were very lucky in that respect, because you were in and around that. And I think perhaps at the end of your career, would you say that it was starting to change and go into a little bit more of an external look? And so the importance was looking good in a different way, in an aerobic and well, what's the word? I can't think of the word now. You know what I mean? I was trying to say it was all about the look. It wasn't necessarily about the feel and the quality and the beauty. it was sometimes, well, how many pivots can you do in that bar of music, and how many scatter chasses can you fit in down that side of the floor before you have to turn a corner?
But also that timing would have been when the dancing started to spread to different hubs and things as well. So there's a lot of things that I think changed. But I would just say the importance for me was really the generation that came before me. And I think that we're incredibly lucky to have that to watch.
Yeah.
You know, incredible dancers, and for me, I still think when I watch some of those old videos, I still think it's futuristic in the sense of how they move, how they time their bodies. You know, it's just magnificent dancing. But yeah, I think it's gone more external. I have to say though, I never ever had a lesson where we had a specific position where we had to put our arms in our hands, and we never wore the frame. They call it the frame today. We didn't call it the frame. It was a hold or whatever.
Right.
But it's interesting, you know. I had this conversation the other night, and having a chat to Richard again, and I said a top professional asked me years ago what the difference was between, say, his generation and ours, and his generation is recent.
Yeah.
And I said, that's easy. I said, you're trying to move static line. I said, we tried to create line in motion.
Yep.
And so I think that's where the two things, and Richard was like, yes, that's exactly right. That's exactly how I see it.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we're at. You know?
Yeah, because it's very fixed, isn't it?
Yeah, we're trying to move a static line.
Yeah.
You know, and I can't move like that. And also I think it's limiting the women, to be honest. I think.
I tell you what it's going to do. It's going to damage them. Because as they get older, they're going to realise their bodies aren't going to be very happy with them.
Yeah.
They're going to have a lot of problems. I don't think personally. Well, time will tell. There's a lot of ladies from your era and before that competed so they were older, more mature. It seems now that people are younger and younger, and they're retiring younger and younger. Possibly because their bodies aren't able to do it anymore. Because some of the things they do to themselves are preposterous. Preposterous. And luckily it's not so much in the side of our business that we're involved in. It's the other side. How do you feel with all the split that happens and all that? What do you feel? Because I think that the system worked beautifully. That there was the IDSF that worked with amateurs, and then there was the WDC that worked with professionals, and it seemed to work quite well. And then it all went to shit, didn't it? Because they all wanted a piece of a pie that they never had before, and they wanted to be in charge of everything. And now we end up with the situation we've got currently, which is an absolute. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Yes.
And really, ultimately, what dancers want to do is just dance. That's all they want to do.
Oh, ultimately, the sad thing is for the competitors. You know, you've got a lot of retired people making decisions, and I'm not so sure they always really think of the good of the competitors. They say they do. They all say they do. I'm not so sure.
Well, there's a lot of ego, isn't there? There's a lot of ego.
Always has been. You know, and I think, you know, being in Australia and seeing it from the outside, you know, it's like, number one, teaching here, I feel like I have clean eyes. I'm not distracted by fashion, so I've enjoyed that aspect. But also looking at it from the outside in terms of the industry, it's just incredibly sad, you know. And I don't know. I don't know what the end game is going to be for everyone. I don't know, but we have a shrinking industry, and I think that a lot of people at the top, they maybe don't notice because all the top cuppers are still here. All those people are still having the lessons and they're still attending the competitions. But from my side, you see it from the bottom level, where we're losing kids that don't see the point anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that the big people that are in charge with whatever organisation that they're involved with, we have to look at that.
Yeah. You alluded to it earlier, though, I think, didn't you, as well, that there's lots of opportunities now. Did you say that? I don't know if you did.
Yes.
But for younger dancers, there's opportunities now that they never had.
Correct.
When I was a young amateur, and definitely when you were a young amateur, those opportunities weren't there. So now they can go and they can go and perform in a dance show. They don't have to be involved with competitive dancing anymore,
or
because
do pro-am.
or do pro-am. Yeah.
You know, we have professionals in Australia that will choose to compete in pro-am over dancing competition themselves. You know,
well, because they're earning some money.
Correct.
And because they've got you know, to pay for their rents or their mortgages and that sort of thing. And
so you can't deny that.
You can't.
You can't judge that.
No, you can't at all. And then there are those, of course, that use that as the vehicle to then finance their dancing.
Correct.
I wish that I'd had that opportunity when I was competing, because I would absolutely have done both. Because every penny I'd have earned in pro-am would have gone straight back into my own dancing. Because I only stopped because I had no money. I had no money left. Yeah. I literally had no money, and I was sick to death of struggling all the time and spending out all this money. You know, not having dance lessons gives you lots of other opportunities. You know, you can drive somewhere like this instead.
Yeah, of course. You know, but I mean, Alan and I may be a little luckier in that sense. I don't think that we would have chosen the pro-am route or that route if we had have had that choice.
I think that even now, the very best in the world do that if they want to.
Yes.
They don't have to.
Correct.
Because they have a lot of other opportunities. But when you're languishing in the 48, 24, and you're desperately trying to get up to the next level, you need an investment. Yep. Not only in your dancing. If you're a talented dancer, you need that investment to then get yourself seen and noticed, so you can make the step up.
Maybe that's more relevant in today's dancing because of the cost of it. I mean, you know, Alan and I, when we were amateur, you know, I had normal jobs and we still had our lessons and we still competed, and of course that teacher student or pro-am wasn't available to us back then, but we managed to do it. Of course it wasn't as expensive, but we managed to do it. You know?
Well, I retired in 2011, but we were spending £1,000 a week. £1,000 a week. And that's a lot of money now.
Yes.
And that was then. That was 12 years ago. So I know it's gone up again exponentially.
Yes.
So, and that wasn't enough. We didn't spend enough.
I mean, you could also look at it from that sense that if it is the cost of it, then choose a smaller team, choose who you really want to work with, and focus on that. You know, do drive your career towards that style of dancing and focus on a smaller team.
That's a little bit. It's difficult though to try and convince young dancers or established dancers that that's what they need to do, because they keep getting on the merry-go-round, keep doing the same thing and don't necessarily change anything. And
so do you think that's why dancing's not, or the ballroom is not maybe developing?
Well, I think that there's too many teachers that now don't care enough, so they just give everyone the same lesson, so they just look the same, and there are too many teachers actually. There's too many teachers. So the younger generation, let's say, the ones that have got ideas, the ones that have got drive, the ones that really want to make a difference and get involved with people, don't get the chance, because the older generation, you know, the old guard is still monopolising everything. And people think, oh, I've got to go to those people because they're judging every week. But they're only judging every week because everyone's having lessons with them. And they're only having lessons because they're judging every week. So it's nonsense. I think I said this as well. I said this in a previous one. Unfortunately, there's a lot of dancers now, professionals, that have no redeemable quality at all in our business, other than they stand around a dance floor with a pad in their hand. That's it. That's the only reason they're there.
It's controversial.
It is, but it's true. It's true. There should be a cut-off point. You get to a certain age, that's it, you're done. Get out. Let's bring some new people in. Or they should be sent out to stud.
Yeah, but early on in our career, you know, we still had the likes of, say, Sonny Binnix and Benny Tolmeyer, you know, judging us, and you know.
How many names did you just name?
2.
Yeah. There's loads of them now. There's loads of them. But some of them have redeeming qualities. Absolutely, they're like little Yodas, aren't they?
They were, you know, good for us, but it was like, and we never had lessons of those people.
Yep. Some of them absolutely. Absolutely, go on, sorry.
It comes down to organisers and who they want to invite to judge as well, I guess.
Absolutely right.
You know,
absolutely right. So
have controllers and organisers
absolutely.
Who want to do, and I just think it's the responsibility of any organiser to put the best possible panel on that you can, and not the ones necessarily that bring competitors or whatever.
Yeah, you're right.
The people that you know, at a high level. You want, well, as a competitor, I wanted to be judged by the best. I mean, I remember Hemel Hempstead, or you know, and you know,
good comp.
We would do that comp every year, and we knew that there were people on there that probably didn't like us particularly, but we'd always rock up because everyone on that panel was a world champion or a British champion. You know,
I see. That's all great, I think.
Yes.
However, I don't necessarily have the greatest of respect for all of the some of the more recent world champions.
Oh, okay.
Because I don't necessarily feel that their positions were justified.
Wow.
Or for that length of time, as well. I mean, don't get me wrong. They're all brilliant dancers. No one's a rubbish dancer anymore, are they?
Yeah.
But they got into those positions in the wrong way. They didn't do it in the right way.
And what's the wrong way?
Just by spending loads of money. And actually, their dancing wasn't as good as people that came before them. I do feel that we've gone backwards in certain respects, in some respects in dancing. I don't think we've moved forward. I think Latin's developed more than ballroom for sure.
I do enjoy watching Latin, but I always did. You know.
Well, you're a Latin girl at heart, aren't you? Really, you're a feisty Latin girl.
Well, I always really, I mean, you know, those assembly practices where you'd finish ballroom and you'd go and sit on the stage and watch Latin practice, and it was like, you know, some nights you get the top 6 practicing.
Brilliant, wasn't it?
I can't even explain how good that was.
And
you know,
and that doesn't happen anymore. That's the sad thing, and I think that's part and parcel of why the dancing was so good in those days.
Yeah.
But that doesn't happen anymore because they're all in different parts of the world.
Yeah, that's true.
They're not all in one place.
Because
it's awesome.
You know, I always say
so inspiring for young dancers.
Correct. Because you know, people say, you know, when you go to England, you improve. It's great lessons. Yeah, you do get great lessons, but you get great vision. You know, and I remember being at assembly so many times. You know, you'd get Sinky would rock up, and you know, you'd just be. God, you know, Andrew Singers in practice.
We'll just sit down in this foxtrot. We'll just sit down and watch for a minute,
and
shall we?
You know that you're in the presence of greatness, you know, and you can feel it, and you get the chance to watch it. And you know, I used to feel this way with Luke and Lorraine, and you know, to watch them at practice, it was fantastic. And
do you know what I used to do though with those sort of practices? Not so much with the likes of Andrew, but so when I was a young amateur, I would go to Cheam to practice Cheam a lot, and William would always come to Cheam. Yeah. And my attitude wasn't to sit back in awe and watch these people. I spoke to William about this actually as well. I used to say, right, I'm going to beat you today. I'm going to stand next to you in this feather step, and I'm going to outdrive you, and I'm going to be better than you, and I'm going to show everyone that I'm better than you, and you're winning or second, and I'm in the 24. Here we go, off we go, and I'd beat him every time with the feather step.
Though, isn't it?
But yeah, I know, but I would. But you know. Yeah, but I didn't see. I wasn't in awe of these people at all. I thought I'm going to be better than you, and I wasn't, unfortunately.
But that's, I mean, I was, and I have to say that was a little bit of an issue for me when I first moved to the UK. You know, because it's like you come from Australia, and you know, I've seen these people on VHS videos that I've watched after school every afternoon, and all of a sudden, boom, you know, they're real life. So these people were living superstars for me, you know, so I was in awe. And
I had exactly the same situation, but think of it this way. So I'm quite feisty, you might know that.
Of course.
Quite feisty. And now, obviously, Kelly, who we'll talk about that because you got us together, essentially. She came over. She wasn't even a top dancer in Australia. She wasn't even an amateur ballroom finalist or anything. She comes over and she's got posters on her wall of all the Chris Ann sponsored couples, and then she's standing at practice at Cheam next to them. Yes. And she's a shy, retiring character anyway. She just basically inverted herself. It was horrific for her. Horrific. She couldn't believe that she was on the same piece of wood.
Absolutely.
As those guys that she'd watch on telly. Exactly the same as you said, because again, Australia's so far away, isn't it? Yeah. So you just don't see these people all the time. But to me, it's like, well, yeah, I went out for a drink with them last week.
Correct.
And it's so normal.
Yeah, and that's where the thing is. It's like, you know, so many people always assume that Alan and I were English, both English. You know, I'm an Australian. So, and even like to know the conversation with Stefano, it's like, yeah, I'm Aussie. You know, so it's a very different world, especially for a young Aussie kid to arrive in England and then all of a sudden be confronted with all these people that you've watched only on video for years. You know, it was really, and then, you know, the whole sort of like brain exploding walking down the steps of the UK. Yep. You know, for years I've watched people do that, and then I remember that feeling being out the back going, oh,
I'm gonna walk down the stairs. Don't trip.
You know, yeah. It was like, oh my goodness, you know. But yeah, that was tough in the beginning, and I struggled with that a little bit.
Yeah.
It took me quite a while to get my head around it, and
because you always come across as quite a confident and positive person, you see, always. Is that a little bit of is that a bit of a Donna too? That's like your little mask that you put on that actually hides your true feelings. You don't feel inferior, you don't feel insecure about yourself.
I did.
So did you?
I did. I definitely did. And you know, I had you know, my dad was quite hard on me growing up, and I think that it's not easy being a professional's kid when you dance. But I definitely was not confident, not at all. And I remember saying to Al a while back actually, and just saying to him, you know, what is it today? You know, we're lacking in Aussies that are succeeding or pushing through. I said, what's the secret to me? You know, and Al says, well, that's easy. He said, you never thought you were very good.
Right.
And I guess for me, everything was a bonus. You know, every good result or every final or every semi-final, whatever was a bonus.
Yeah. So it pushed you on to be better because you didn't think that you were good enough.
Correct.
So you always wanted to be better.
Correct. And that's where the learning process was really important for me. It was very, very important.
But of course, if you stay within if you're insular, if you stay within a situation like Australia, say, even though Australia's quite big, it's quite small in dancing terms.
Yes.
But if you're the top dog in Australia and you never leave that area, that environment, and you're always the top dog, well, of course you're going to have a certain arrogance about yourself, aren't you? And then you're going to believe you're better than you are. And then people that have experienced the world, like you think, well, actually, you know, you're doing heel leads in your feather step. You know, at the end of your feather step, you're doing a heel lead at the end of your lock step. You're not good enough. And they think, what do you know? I'm winning. I'm the best. Well, actually, you're not very good though. And that's the problem. And I think that's a bit of a societal problem actually with teenagers and younger people today. Do you not think you've got two young teenagers, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
I'm confident though you keep them relatively grounded. Although it might be tricky though, I don't know.
No,
Because they become their own people.
I'm pretty proud of my two. Yeah, I'm definitely not as strict as what my parents were with me. Alan's definitely not. Alan's so soft.
Is he?
Yeah, Freya's. Yeah, she controls the roost there. But
oh, really?
It's so funny. We used to have these friends in Japan that we'd meet up for a beer after teaching, and non-dancers. They used to work for British Gas. And
right.
we talked about
Japanese people that work for
English,
British Gas.
English.
But they lived in Japan.
Yeah, they did.
All right.
Actually, the guy reminded me a lot of you.
Really?
And
was he a handsome blonde chap?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And he said, you know, something about we're talking about issues with our parents, and he says, you know, I love them. He said, but I'm not so sure I like them.
Right.
And it was quite funny. Alan and I have used that so many times.
Yeah.
And it's a bit like with my kids. I love them. You have to love your children, but I actually really like my children. You know, we get on great, and they're really nice to be with, and they're good kids.
Yeah.
Definitely not going to dance. Charlie.
That's a good thing though.
Charlie's not interested at all.
Freya's done something though, hasn't she?
She has. But yeah, she sort of started to get into it. She had a little bit of talent actually for ballroom. I think if she had stuck with it, I think she could have been quite good. But this may be a bit controversial to say this, but I got to a point where I just things that I've witnessed in dancing in Australia over the last few years, I just decided if she didn't want to dance, that was okay.
What do you mean by things you'd witnessed? What was that? The way they treated, the way that they treated the young dancers, or?
Yeah, I think that there's
the attitudes or the politics.
There has been some toxic behaviour, and I witnessed it with one young couple that I teach. And to be honest with you, it changed me. And I said to Alan, I'm not so sure that I want to do this here anymore. I said, you know, I'm happy to live here, but I think I'll travel and work. And I'd actually made that decision. And you know, I'd started travelling to Hong Kong again, and I was having a lovely time with it. I really enjoyed it. And then COVID hit.
Right.
So, you know, you can't decide not to work in your own country and travel if you can't travel.
No, absolutely not.
You know, and I just decided, I don't know if I want her involved in this. She's got my name on her back. Yeah. And I thought the way that she could succeed in the industry, if she really wanted to do it, would be my way. And I'd send her to the UK and come and compete and learn over here. But she decided that, in her words, I don't really want to do your job, mummy.
Yeah.
So okay.
Yeah. Ella's exactly the same. Yeah. She's really talented as well, our daughter, but she doesn't really seem to want to push herself too much in that, which is absolutely fine, because I'd much rather she found her own vocation. Yeah. I don't want her to do what we did, because I know what she's got to do to succeed, and I don't know if I want to. I don't know if I want to put her through that.
But you know, it's like teaching today. inherently, I love to dance. I love it. I
Should have brought my shoes, shouldn't I?
Oh,
we should have had a swing, shouldn't we?
We should. And I love to dance. I love to move. I love it. I love to teach. I love it. So, yes, I'm sad in the sense that she doesn't want that. You know, with all the things we can list on one side of all the, you know, the bad things, whatever. You know, every industry you're going to go in is going to have some form of something you don't like.
Yeah.
You know, but the actual joy of what we do, I love that, and I've never lost that.
And I think that's because you're a real performer and a real artist, and it was all about the feel and the quality.
Yes.
I'm confident there'll be dancers that don't have that aspect, that just put on a performance and put their arms up and dance, and when they're done, they'll think, yeah, I'm done, because they've got no emotion in it. That's what I mean by the emotion. I think there's so much, there's such a lack of emotion in dancing for me. I want to be touched, both physically and emotionally.
Yeah. I totally
all the time.
agree with you. But that's what I said to you before about the lessons that I had. I danced with, you know, I remember having a lesson with John one time, and
Wood.
Yeah, John Wood, and
not Delroy. Yeah, magic man.
Now talk about touch and senses and feeling and emotion. Oh my goodness, it's like that man.
Yeah, beautiful.
What do you say to that?
Yeah, beautiful. I remember doing it just on a tangent.
Yes, okay.
We had him come and do a squad training for us once, and that was at the BDF organised that when I was a youth, and they had the top 6 ballroom, top 6 Latin. So it was 12 couples that were there to have this lecture, and he came in, and he used Tim and Joe actually at the time as his demonstrating couple. Yeah. And I remember being transfixed by thinking, this is wonderful. I was the only one. Everyone else was slagging it off and thinking, oh, what a waste of time. What's this old fart all on about? I thought it was beautiful. I can't even quite remember what he was talking about. I think he was talking about turns and rotations and shapes and lines and stuff. And I remember thinking, this is magic. This is magic. And everyone else thinking, what an idiot. What's he talking about?
Then they lost.
Do you know the other thing? Do you know the funny thing as well? If I look back to that now, I'm the only one of that group that's still involved. Oh, Stephen Syson. Sorry, me and Stephen Syson.
It's interesting.
Yeah. No one else. None of us are involved anymore. None of them are involved anymore. So yeah.
That's so sad. Oh my god, the amount that we learnt from Delroy. Oh my goodness.
I still think back to those because you used to lend me some old videos and things. I didn't have any of that. Obviously, people have got that on tap now, don't they? They can. This is the beauty of what people have got the opportunity to do now, and they just don't embrace it. But back in the old days, I didn't have any access to all these old videos. I had to speak to someone like you who had spoken to someone else to get hold of all these things. And I remember seeing that Duel of the Giants with John Delroy, and it was Walter Led, wasn't it? Walter Led and Lorraine. Yeah. And he danced him off the floor. John, the way that they performed and held themselves and produced their movements was way above. It would stand up today.
It was amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was tremendous. That was 1963 or something.
I know. Just an absolute legend.
Yeah.
I remember him hugging Alan one time and just saying, "Don't get old, Alan. Don't get old."
Really?
Yes.
I'm not. I'm getting younger. I'm getting younger. I'm getting younger.
Well, you've got to keep moving.
Yeah, I don't stop moving.
But just going back to Woody, I remember talking about feel and things. I remember we were at Cheam and we did this contra check to a drag, and I'd never felt anything like it. And Alan and I were both speechless. Alan was speechless for how it looked, and I was speechless for how it felt. And you know, if you disregard feel, well, what else is there?
You've got no measure, have you?
I agree.
You've got no measure.
I agree. I agree.
Now, obviously, when you're teaching some people, sometimes you're like, no, I don't care how it feels. Just do this. Do as you're told. This is going to get you through what you need to do.
But how do you identify then when it isn't quite right or it's not?
Well, it's not. It's a means to an end sometimes. I'm saying it's a tool in your box, isn't it?
Yeah, of course.
It's something you get out of the box. We're going to do this today, but I don't care how it feels for the moment. But you're going to learn to love that feeling.
Yeah, there's an element of that, I guess. But you know, generally the couples that I'm working with since I've been here, you know, they all look good.
Yeah, they do, don't they?
So they've achieved that.
So sometimes though,
so what's next?
What's the point?
Well, what's next? You know, you look good. You know, the frame's right, if you want to call it the frame, but the head weight's in space, and you've got all those things going on, and whatever. All choreographed to the hill. We've achieved it. It looks good.
Yeah, and
what's next?
I think this is why a lot of them just give up. They give up because they don't think there's anything else to it. Because how many teachers are actually teaching the content. How many of them are teaching them to become a dancer rather than just a performer?
You know, that's where I think there's certain teachers and certain that you can't not have in your team. You know, and it's like often when the lessons that I've experienced this time, you know, generally the couples have had a little bit of research, they've had a little look, or they've seen us on videos or whatever, so they're coming with an idea of what they want. And all of it is about leg action, leg timing, joints, you know, the harmony.
All comes down to timing and balance.
All that harmony.
And at the end of the day.
And it's interesting, you know, I think that's something you have to learn. You have to learn that, and you can see it a mile off when a couple does it or doesn't. You
can, but do you find that some of these couples are willing to embrace it and take it on board, or do you find some of them are a bit rejective?
Then we get back to feel. You know, you dance with them and you give them a feel, and then they want to know what it's about.
Right.
You know, from my experience.
Yeah.
You know, it's you feel it and you know that it's right, or you know that it's something that you want to try, or you want to give it a go.
Yeah.
And that's where the feel's important. That's what's awful about getting old. You know, how long can you?
Yeah, well, you gotta keep moving.
Feel good.
You gotta keep moving. You gotta keep fasting.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Big believer in fasting.
Yeah. One of the reasons that I get annoyed because no competitors.
You get annoyed, James. Really?
Yeah, I do get annoyed because no competitors give us the time of day, really, because I never achieved really very much, and everyone remembers where you finished, not where you started. Now, I was a very successful amateur. In fact, I used to get called Little Alan all the bloody time. I even had Leslie, who was Alan's partner before you, come up to me and start talking to me, thinking I was Alan at Blackpool. That was bonkers. Absolutely bonkers.
I love it.
Yeah, and I think did I come with you to you did a show once somewhere. It wasn't, I don't know where it was, and I was there, and they came and started talking to me as if I was Alan again as well. I wish they'd talked to me at the end and give me the money. Right.
Most shows we did in the UK, we gave some back.
Yeah, I know. I remember you were very generous like that. No, but they don't. But I didn't win. And I was far from that. But God, I had all the lessons. I know what it feels like. I know what it's supposed to look like, and I know how to teach it. But because we never achieved, they'll rather go to someone who's just wasting their time. They're never going to learn from, actually.
But how big is the industry in the UK now? Like,
well, it's definitely smaller.
Yes.
It's definitely smaller, and I think that certain people monopolise it and take on people and don't allow people to go out and that sort of thing. So they say, well, these are our couples, you're ours, you're staying with us. The senior circuit is dying a death.
Really?
Yeah. I've got a philosophy on that. We're going to come back to the fasting, by the way. Yeah. I've got a philosophy on the senior side of things, because a certain generation of dancer, or a certain generation of people, what they did socially was dance. They went out to dance halls and danced, ballroom dancing.
Yes.
And then, so that's what they did when they were young. They met their wife or their husband doing that. So it was all lovely.
My parents.
It was very nostalgic. Yeah. So many people did. And then they stopped and had a family, that sort of thing. And then when they got a bit older, they thought, why don't we go and dance again? That's not what we used to do. This is teenagers or young adults. Why don't we go and do that again? That's great, lovely. So we had this loads of seniors. They're all dying, aren't they? Or they're already gone. Now, the generation after them had disco.
Yeah.
Or it didn't really dance. It wasn't really something. So those guys, as they get older, they don't go back to doing what they did. They don't go back to doing ballroom dancing because they never did it in the first place. So those senior dancers just aren't there. And I don't know if you have it in Australia with the Masters. How many amateurs get to 35 and think, do you know what? Let's just turn senior.
That's a really good point.
Because it's got a stigma to it.
If it wasn't for the Masters dancers in Australia, we would be struggling at competitions. So we have lots of levels, which I'm not too much in agreement with. But lots of one Masters 2, Masters 3, Masters 4. Yeah. So basically, the solos, teacher-student events, lead-follow events, and Masters are what prop up the industry in Australia.
It's the same in England, but without the senior events.
Right.
Because the solo is massive now in this country. I hate it. Because it's not what it's about. Because what we do
is partner dancing.
It's about moving intrinsically as one with someone else. It's not about dancing on your own.
I actually spoke to a few people about it, because when I find it a little difficult to judge, especially the ballroom, because the girls are in positions that are incredibly artificial, and it's not ballroom dancing, is it?
No, it's not. It's not. But unfortunately, they've found these girls, and this is the nonsense. I sometimes see comps where there's boys dancing on their own as well. I think, why don't you go and dance with that girl over there?
We have that in Australia.
It's nonsense.
Yeah.
So,
well, we have in Australia that maybe you do have a couple, they'll dance together, and then they'll dance the solo events as well, and then they'll do something else.
That's not so bad.
No, I get it, but you know, we sort of start to need to do some workshops on solo dances, because you look at it and these poor girls, they just don't know how to move weight accurately, and it's almost like, would that work with a partner?
Well, no, it wouldn't, would it?
That,
no, it wouldn't, would it?
Yeah.
We're one half of a jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah.
When we're dancing with someone, I am one half, and you're the other half. I understand,
you know, we struggle for boys. I understand that. So I do understand an element of having it, but
it needs to be rebranded. Dancing in general needs a rebrand.
And how do you think you rebrand it?
Well, I don't know. I haven't got the answer, but I know that it needs a rebrand because, well, one of the things I would do is I would get rid of tail suits for anyone under 16.
That's interesting.
Because if a boy of 13 comes into dancing, there's girls, which could be quite good, and they're wearing nice pretty dresses.
Yeah.
But then you've got to put on a tail suit with a stiff collar and a white tie and things that you look like a musical conductor. I can understand. Yeah, I know. I know. But you can have tradition when you're a bit older and you understand it more and you appreciate it. But when you're that young, you just want a really nice suit.
Yeah.
Just wear a really nice suit, and then when you get a bit older, you can go into the more proper stuff. I
don't disagree with that concept. I do think that there needs to be thought on other things, you know, to help it. I mean, like,
I don't think it's not obviously. I'm not just saying the suit's going to change everything.
No.
That's not the solution
it's just
to everything.
An idea.
Yeah.
But it's like in Australia, you know, we're called dance sport.
Yeah.
You know, and as a business owner, there's no way that I would label what we do as dance sport, because nobody would know what it was. You know, we're ballroom dancers.
Yeah.
We teach ballroom dancing, and
we're not a sport anyway,
the whole dance sport thing, I don't think has actually increased numbers into the sport.
Well, the only reason it's called sport is to get funding, isn't it? Because there's always more funding for sports than there is the arts.
And I'm not so sure the whole funding thing has actually been a good thing for dancing in Australia.
Well, it hasn't happened in this country at all. They don't do it. There's no funding in this country. None at all. Wow. No, well, not that I'm aware of anyway, but we don't classify as, we don't have dance sport. Well, there is Dance Sport England actually, which is a branch of the WDSF.
Right, yes.
But they don't run comps or anything like that, so it doesn't really happen.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. But no, it needs a rebrand, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Needs a revolution. Complete and utter revolution. Nuts and bolts rebuild. Completely, utterly.
See, that's the thing, you know, the revolution is at the bottom end. You know, the top end is still ticking away.
I think they all need a revolution as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Absolutely. Force them all to do basics and comps. Force them all. Force them all to wear day wear during the day, and then in the evening they get dressed up. Ooh. Make it special.
But
more comps in sports halls.
An event organiser could do that?
I do.
Oh.
I try my best to.
Yeah.
Some things I'm restricted by, of course, with cost.
Yeah.
But if cost was no object for me, absolutely right. That's what I would do.
That's an interesting concept.
Yeah, I definitely would have. If I knew that I was going to have enough people coming to the comp, I would have a day session where you wear loungewear.
Yes.
And then in the evening, if you make it, you can get dressed up.
It's interesting.
Which is beautiful, which makes it classy, and hold it in a ballroom.
Yeah.
Don't hold it in a bloody sports hall.
It's interesting. Yeah, I'm part of an association in Australia called Dance Move Engage, and
Dance Move Engage.
Yes, and it was put together for grassroots dancing.
Right.
And coming out of COVID, they decided to do competitions just in practice way. Right. And it was actually really lovely.
Yeah.
You know, all the couples they came and they embraced it and they really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But again, it'd be lovely for organisers to run different types of events to make it interesting. In Australia, every event is exactly the same.
Yeah.
You know, same events, same scheduling, same.
Yeah, but that's...
And every event possible that you can imagine. You know, I've often said to people at home that if they had a dog, an event for their dog and their owner, you know, Alan could enter as well. We just have so many events to, I guess, so the organisers can earn, because you pay per event in Australia.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, it's about money, isn't it?
Correct.
Yeah. So and going back to the dressing down thing, because if you want to encourage people into the business, there has to be a nice entry level way of getting in, so costing wise, and it's so expensive. So if you had, for instance, if all juniors didn't have to wear fancy clothes, you didn't have to wear dress, it was cheaper.
Yes.
Suddenly, you might have more people doing it because you know what it's like as a child.
Well,
You've got 2 young teenagers.
Australia did have that. We called it recreational.
But again, but that's demeaning, then, isn't it?
No, actually, in the studio it wasn't because.
No, but it would be demeaning for someone who's a top level junior, wouldn't it?
Well, no, because they wouldn't be allowed to be recreational. So.
But if you called everything recreational, I'm trying to say.
No. Recreational was, we used to have it as entry level. So you know, like when the kids go to soccer, there's like a soccer circuit. There was like dance moving engage. They've got a circuit. They do 3 comps a year. And we had recreate, but that was changed by people above me before I got into Dance for Australia, which is sad because it was actually very easy to sell. Actually, there are competitions you can do. It's recreational. You don't need an outfit. You know, it's $10 to get in, whatever. And it was really successful. And that was all removed, which is sad. But I get you.
I'm suggesting that everyone does it. Everyone. Not just the recreational people. Because we have the same thing here as well. We have a beginners and novice. And they're not allowed to wear. They've got restricted dress and restricted figures. But I would say everyone. Everyone. I'm a bit hardline like that.
You're a little bit controversial.
Well, a little bit controversial, but you know, you can have a better cut suit.
You've never been like that, have you?
No, I've always been. Most of my life, I've been relatively passive and.
Oh, really?
Yeah, passive and just go along with everything that everyone says.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah,
that is so not you.
I know. And again, that hasn't helped me. Hasn't helped me because I was never a yes man. I'm still not a yes man. I can't do it. I don't know why I should. No, you got to be your own person. And unfortunately, there are people who feel threatened by that. And then if you go into lessons and tell people that they're doing it wrong, you're teaching that wrong. That's not right. And then they don't like you very much, do they? They kick you out.
I got kicked out. Conversation when you were competing. Is that James?
Yeah. I just couldn't help it. That was wrong. You're telling me you're wrong. Oh well. Done now. I'm all right with them now. I apologise, to be honest.
Oh,
I did apologise.
It's a struggle with Alan with that sometimes. So it's like,
But I didn't have any results to back it up, unfortunately. That was the trouble. So I then went out to a comp and I still looked like an idiot. That was the trouble because I never looked any good. I danced quite nicely from the waist down, but I never looked any good.
Was the case.
I didn't look good. I didn't look good enough. I didn't look good enough. And I look back at it now and I know exactly what I needed to do.
It's interesting, isn't it?
And that was actually I should have done was have lessons with the people that I didn't think I should have had lessons with. Because I genuinely went into every lesson trying to learn. And I wasted my time. I wasted my time because I could already do it. And I don't mean that big-headedly. But the lessons, the content I was getting, I could already do it. And I was just wasting my time. I needed to go to someone who I didn't think was right for me. And actually that would have given me what I needed. A little bit.
Yeah,
what I needed to
or take you out of a comfort zone in a sense.
Yeah, absolutely right. Because and when I retired and started listening to myself and trusting myself, we got better. And I'm better now than I ever was when I competed.
It's funny you saying that. I never used to like watching our videos. I you know, when you're competing and fresh retired, you just pick holes in everything. You know, and Alan, you know, now with the dancing that you see today and stuff like that, I'm actually really comfortable watching our videos. I enjoy now watching us. Yeah,
I found an old old hard drive the other day, and it had all of the old superstars on it.
Oh, okay.
And so I watched a few, and I watched your Foxtrot, and I watched your Waltz and your Tango and stuff like that. And then I compared it to some stuff today, and it's so much better. Ooh, so some of the movement's it's not done in the same way. So you can sense that it's not of the day of now.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
But the quality and the music and the timing is so much better, because I do feel, I'm going back to this a lot, we're going to talk about fasting in a minute. But you'll understand this, that the music is lost. I don't know why. I don't know what people are listening to sometimes. I don't understand it. The music's playing, but they're not dancing to it. They're dancing just to. That's all they're dancing to. They're not dancing to anything that's over and above that. And actually, that's what dancing should be about. Yeah,
but mechanically, I'm not so sure a lot of the couples are in positions to enable.
Whose fault is that? It's bloody teacher's fault. It's bloody teacher's fault.
Well, no. Look, but it's the teachers that you choose. There are teachers that can enable that path of knowledge, you know, and
so that's your coach's fault. Who's guiding them? It all comes back to the teachers.
Well, nobody guided us. We just.
Well, you were lucky.
We took those decisions.
You were lucky.
You know.
But you know, you say that no one guided you, but you were from a professional background. So you had a little, whether you realise it or not, you probably had a bit of an understanding.
My mum just said before I moved to the UK at 18 or 19 or whatever it was, it just said that, you know, you've got to go to the people that have done it. So you'd always go to the, you know, the names. It's like, as an Aussie, that's what you did.
Yeah.
And
that's what I mean by now. I think that's why I have no respect for some of the more recent people, because I don't feel they have the same level of ability or quality or teaching ability that the guys before had.
But you know, I did have this conversation with another pro, a competitive pro, and I just think it's that loyalty to learning the product and the regularity of learning. Like if you go to university, you've got lectures and you think you do them every week and whatever. We did that.
Yep.
You know, the only time we weren't having a weekly lesson with our regular coaches is if we had to travel. As a pro, we'd go to Japan and then come back and then get back into it.
Yeah.
And so you had that constant, not reassurance, but validation. You know, you're building.
You're on the right path. You're on the right path. You're doing the same. You're doing the right thing. Yeah.
You know, and I couldn't think of anything worse of having one lesson with a teacher and then going doing a comp. I couldn't have competed like that.
Well, I think also that's, again, comes back to society to a certain degree. Everyone wants everything now, don't they?
It's quick, isn't it?
It's quick.
You know,
want it now.
Listen,
I've got time.
I said to one of my
I'm 23.
kids,
I need to be done by 26.
Yeah, so I said to one of my kids the other day, a young Aussie couple, I said, you've got to be in it for the long game. This is what it is. It's a long game. Yeah. You know, and I had very, very famous people telling me that when I was young. Latin people, you know, it's the ones who can last, that can, you know, you're in it for the long game.
Yeah.
You know, it's not quick. But
no, I know. Yeah, yeah. Do you know how long I have a guess how long I competed for as a pro?
No idea.
Have a guess.
6 years?
4.
Ooh.
Nothing. It's nothing. It's not even a wet fart.
Yeah, but I would say as well, I think Alan and I felt our career, I think I would have liked to have continued longer, because I think the last Blackpool we had was probably the first time I felt I discovered balance. Right. It was the first time I was on balance, and that whole competition lead up to that Blackpool, we practiced without mirrors. Right. And we did it purely on field. You know, we'd had an awful result at a competition at the beginning of the year.
Yep.
You know, had to make decisions whether we wanted to continue or not. And so we changed our direction a little bit, not in terms of how we move or what we believed in, but just how we prepared. Yeah. And it was the most enjoyable competition I ever danced. I really felt balanced for the first time, and I thought, you know, so I would have liked to have continued a few more years. But I was 36.
Yeah, but that's not old in the slightest.
No, it's not old, but you know.
But if you've got different priorities, then.
Yeah, you've got to make decisions for the time that you're in. You know, and there were certain things around us that made us make those decisions. Yeah. But yeah, I would have liked to 4 or 5 more years just to enjoy dancing how we danced.
Yes, exactly.
I couldn't have cared less about the results.
No, you're right.
Because I realised it wasn't up to me. There's nothing I could do about those results.
Yeah, exactly.
But I enjoyed that competition.
Did you feel that?
So much.
Did you then? Because people used to tell me all the time, stop worrying about results, don't worry about results, and I never understood it at all. I never thought, no, of course I'm going to worry about results. I want to be better. I want to do better. I want to beat those people that are beating me that I don't think are good enough to beat me.
Well, we are competitors. It is a competition.
Exactly. But as soon as that was taken away from me, the results aspect, my dancing improved immeasurably.
Yes.
Because the pressure was suddenly more so from Kelly's perspective than mine. Because I was always a pretty fierce competitor, and I'd always want to go out there and perform and do the best. But sometimes it took Kelly the other way, so she'd go in within herself a little bit, and it was difficult for her. But when we had the competitive aspect taken away, suddenly it was liberating. So I would love to have been able to dance again like that. And we did actually try and make a comeback. I don't know if you know about that.
No.
We started having lessons again and everything. 2018.
Wow.
Yeah, we were going to do another comp. We were going to do another couple of comps perhaps. And we had lessons with Marcus and Karen. And I thought, best one to go to Marcus, because he'll tell me the truth. And he said,
give it a go.
Yeah, give it a go. So I thought, okay, that's validation. So, and then I went and did a pro-am comp and messed up my shoulder. And that was it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. It's better now, and I think I probably could do it again, but I don't know, I maybe a little bit pushing it a bit now. But I'm still keen to do that, because you chose to you retired. You chose to retire, didn't you?
Yes. So
you knew when your last comp was?
I would say it was Alan who chose to retire.
You as a couple, didn't you?
Yeah.
We didn't where's he going?
I don't know.
Yeah. Our last comp, we didn't know was our last comp. And our last comp, we got knocked out of the final, the British. So we didn't make the Heelys Horse final. So our last comp was in the semi-final. And it's not nice, is it? You don't get a chance to then go out there and make amends for that.
Yeah, I understand the feeling.
So it would be nice to go out and do a last comp on our terms and not actually worry about the result, just worry about the journey.
That's what we feel about our last Blackpool final. It was on our terms. And you sort of, I remember dancing it thinking, you know, we should have competed more like this during our career. But, you know, we had that same experience. The sort of like losing that concept of desperately trying to win it or beat people or whatever. And we hit a low patch in our amateur days. And were fourth a few times in the final, sort of didn't feel like we're developing, and that's when we decided to take on John Nan, actually.
Right.
And it was life-changing for both of us. And I remember Anne's first lesson, and she said,
was this as amateurs?
Yes. And she said, you know, the first thing we're going to do is remove the trophy.
Right.
And I think the next Blackpool was second, and we nearly beat Chris and Hazler. I think it was 1 mark. It was very close. I'm not sure 1 mark, but it was very, very close. And the next year we won. You know, and I think that was a game changer for us mentally. You know, we took the pressure off.
Yeah.
And we had an enormous amount of improvement in that period. And the year we won Blackpool, you know, again it was an enjoyable competition.
Funnily enough, I watched that again actually because it was on this old hard drive.
Yeah.
The 1998 Blackpool.
It's interesting.
That was a hell of a night.
It was
hell of a night because I remember
I
was there at the comp and you spoke about it earlier, didn't you, when you were talking in the studio? And the crowd were immense that night. Both ends were. Everyone was supporting you guys and William and Alessandra, weren't you?
Yeah, I didn't feel it was one for them, one for us. I didn't feel that.
No, everyone was just. It was like a boxing match, and where with two amazing boxers, and each one's walloping the other one. One wallop and the other one wallops, and it's whoever just. They both got knocked to the floor, and it's whoever got up first. Like in Rocky.
I feel so privileged.
Rocky too.
But I feel so privileged to have done that final with them.
Yeah.
And you know, I've got goosebumps thinking about it.
Would you say that was your greatest performance or greatest experience in a comp? Better than making the pro final for the first time?
That's interesting. Different.
Right.
I felt yeah, at that point this is incredible. You know, and I was very aware of a little kid from a little town in Thirroul in Australia.
Yeah.
And I'm standing here and competing with mighty dancers. Like, what a final. And you know, to have William second and us, that's just a privilege.
Yeah.
You know? And it was mind-blowing. Incredible feeling, and it was nice to know that we danced well. You know, do you know what I mean? To actually feel that, yeah, I've given everything here. We trained for this, we prepared for this, we did the best we possibly can. And this is the thing about judges actually, and people judging. And I say this to all competitors. I remember we're at Cheam, sort of leading up to Blackpool, when the panel came out, and Crossley came up and told us what the panel was, and both of us were like, oh God, that's not good.
Right.
You know, we're sort of like, this is not good for us. You know, we really don't have a good chance here. You know, and it's sort of like we felt a little bit, oh wow, you know, this is gonna be tough, and a little bit of a low for a few days. And then Alan said, no, our job is to convince every one of those people sitting in that room that we deserve to win this comp. And the whole sort of energy and motivation kicked up again, and that was the goal. The goal was not necessarily to win it. The goal was to convince people that we were good enough to win it. And it was a great comp. But making the final in Foxtrot in the pro on the Friday night, that topped it for me.
Right.
I felt so relieved just to be recognised.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, you know, we can do this. We can dance. You know, we've got a decent dance. You know, that was like just this massive relief. And I think, yeah, that night was incredibly special for me. Yeah, so very lucky.
Yeah, very lucky.
I feel very lucky.
Yeah. Think how much it How much better it would have been if you danced with me, though.
Well, you know, it's like you did look like Alan. It's like a younger version. It could have lasted a bit longer.
Gone for longer.
I didn't have to retire, so
yeah,
we could have gone just swapped.
We could have done, couldn't we?
And there you go. I could have had my next 5 years.
You could have done. Yeah.
I love that.
So outside of dancing, because you've had, obviously then you've had you've been out of it for a while. I've been back in Australia. Really.
But you know, I really though in a way, it's helped. Like, of course, I'm not here teaching and with all the couples and, you know, seeing all this mechanism work, you know, and I was a little bit nervous coming back into it, doing this. But I sort of feel I've been in a little time warp, in this little bubble.
Do you mean nervous? Nervous in what way? Nervous in because you feel that you don't belong, or because you might have lost touch, or
maybe
they don't respect you, or what?
Actually, in terms of the respect, I can't tell you how beautiful I've been treated by the couples that I've been teaching, and incredible respect and kindness, and I have felt an absolute desire to try and do what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, nervous. It's like I haven't been here. I haven't been teaching here. I haven't, you know, the way one couple referred to it actually. Oh, you've got clean eyes.
Oh, right,
and it's really stuck with me, and I'm like, what do you mean clean eyes? Well, you're not affected by fashion, you're not, you know, you haven't been seeing all this, so what do you see it? Tell us what you see, and that's been fun. Yeah, that's been fun. But yeah, I was a little apprehensive, you know, I'm not the most confident person, and I was a little apprehensive, but I've really enjoyed the teaching. It's been nice. Not enjoying driving on the M25 and getting lost in 3 hours to get from Putney back to Virginia Water. Oh,
yeah, so I don't drive a great deal outside of where we live these days.
Don't blame you.
So obviously in the old days we'd be driving up every day to London, because I refused to move. I refused to move out from where we lived. I wanted to stay in Southampton the whole time. So I always had that element of escapism to a certain degree. But yeah, God, don't miss my journeys up the M25 every day.
I cried. I actually had a little cry.
Did you?
I was like...
Was that after you were on the phone to me?
Yes, it was. Yeah. And I was like, I can't do this. And I was like, am I ever going to get home? That sort of feeling is like, oh, I'm not doing this. And
did you go the way I said?
No, I didn't. I didn't go. I know. I went sat down.
You lost confidence, didn't you? You weren't so confident.
I did. Yeah, I lost confidence. And so train it was the next day. It was nice.
Yeah, fair enough.
Well, but now there's supposed to be train changes next week.
Oh, that's lucky. That's nice of you, isn't it?
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to drive it again.
Well, you'll do a better trip, because we could have been back ages ago. We'd already got there, and I've just turned off and gone different ways.
That's nice though.
Because we were very close. Yeah, good. So what's a normal day for you then in Australia now? Let's forget the dancing aspect. So,
well, first of all, we do have a studio. Alan and I, we bought a building and turned it into a beautiful space. We've got a beautiful floor.
Dance space, in fact.
It is, yeah. And we've got a beautiful floor, and you know, not many people in Australia, dance teachers, survive or live purely off dancing in Australia anymore. Luckily for us, the plan, we sort of went back sort of knowing, you know, we wouldn't be doing lessons like they do over here. So a studio was important, and it's very successful. We run all sorts of classes, and we've got a little bit of teaching, so it's lovely. It's a lovely space, and yeah, every time I walk in I pinch myself and like, this is my space. It's beautiful. Sometimes feel a long way away from Europe, and
what do you miss about being over here? Because obviously you spent 20 years here, right?
I miss the drive, I miss the energy, I miss being around dancers that are hungry, that are that sort of that edge, that competitive feeling, the energy. You know, I miss that. You know,
please leave the roundabout at the third exit and continue to follow A245.
I'm just going to turn her off.
That's a nice. I was hoping for it with Joanna Lumley sort of English accent or something. I miss that. You know, it's hard to create that sort of hunger and that sort of motivation in Australia. You know, we have a couple of couples that are going to embark coming over here next year and give it a whirl, and I'm confident that, you know, they're driven, that they will give it a good shot. Yeah. You know, but yeah, I just love being in the energy, just walking into the studio and seeing these dancers. You know,
please leave the roundabout at the second exit onto M25.
Necessarily have that in Australia.
I'm going to turn her off completely. I'm sorry, because I can't turn her voice off.
It's okay.
Okay.
Do you know where you're going?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Because I wouldn't have a go.
No, I know.
So my day.
Yeah,
it always starts with Shingler always makes me a coffee. So we wake up. Oh, always. Every morning. Yep, every morning. Fresh coffee, I can hear it grinding. And as it goes through the espresso machine, that's my alarm. And we have a little coffee together, talk about our day. Then we take the kids to school, walk the dog. And then, you know, I spend my time really sort of looking after the kids, looking after the dog, looking after my mum. She's 84, just written a book.
Oh, is she? I saw that, yeah. So
it's lovely.
Is it like her memoirs?
It is actually.
Oh,
it's really, really sweet. And, you know, a bit of teaching in the studio, you know, a bit of upkeep on the studio. And so my life is pretty chilled. I like it.
Do you feel like you, are you in a position now where you don't have to work to live so much?
Yes, you could say that. I think the teaching that we have, that, you know, we live off that. But I don't have that. I don't have to be in the studio every day. Yeah. I don't have to be doing that.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people here, you see, that are still chasing.
No.
They're chasing it all the time still.
Oh, we're not. And no, we're not. I mean,
and that's no way to live, is it?
We're definitely on the wrong side of 50, so we have to be looking at where we're going in the next sort of 10 years or so, and putting things in place for that. Yeah. But for us, you know, there isn't that sort of I have to be in there. But at the same time, you know, to get a trip and pop up to Hong Kong, or Alan's in China in October. Right. I mean, that's lovely.
That's a bonus.
It is. It's fantastic, and that is important for our life as well, and also important for us professionally. So yeah, life's pretty cruisy. You know, it's the last sort of few years have been a little hairy with health issues in the family, but other than that, you know, life's pretty cruisy. Nice. Yeah, so I definitely feel out of my comfort zone being back here. Yeah. But funnily enough, sort of growing in each day is getting a little bit more, bit more relaxed.
By the time you get back, you'll
miss it. I want to come back again.
You'll want to come back again, won't you? Yeah. So you were talking about, I talked about fasting, and your eyes lit up. So you're into a bit of fasting, are you?
Very, very much so. Yeah. And I, you know, it's sort of like when you've competed and you've trained, you know, sort of like I struggled to even look into a gym after we retired. It was like, you know, and obviously we went sort of like from retirement straight into having children, you know, so boom. And we had 2 kids very close. So there's that next thing, you know, so sort of realised as the kids got a bit older, I need to get myself sorted, need to lose a bit of weight, get fit, and I read a lot about fasting for health benefits as well. Right. And it really works for me, and I feel at my age it's the best way for me to keep my weight down, number one, but also I just feel cognitively clearer, awake, less issues with my joints. I feel more energy. I just feel in a good place with it, and I actually quite enjoy it.
Do you follow a specific program? Is it something?
16-8. Yeah, 16-8. I try and fast for 16, and then I have an 8-hour window where I eat. Right. And if I'm starting to feel a bit lethargic or a bit, I'll shorten that little window. Right. But I do break the fast with a coffee in the morning. We do have a little coffee, so it's a bit naughty. But then I stick to the eating window. It's hard, you know, when I'm at Virginia Water and being looked after by the Silver Fox, and you know, going out for dinner and drinking lots of wine. It's been really nice.
But, see, we don't drink anymore.
Whoa! How do you do that?
We just don't drink anymore. Just don't buy it. Just don't buy it. Don't have it.
I'm like that with chocolate and chocolate biscuits. I just don't buy it.
And we've been plant-based for 6 years.
Yeah, that's incredible. Well. Incredible.
And that's made a massive difference to us. Yeah. And we fast as well. Right. Okay. We do a bit of everything. Yeah. Yeah. And Kelly's just come off the end of a 2-week fast.
And when you do 2-week fast, what's that? Is that like really hardcore?
I can't do it. I can't do it because Kelly doesn't work as much as I do.
Right. So you need that energy.
So the most I've done is 4 days. Right. But no food.
So she's done 2 weeks with no food.
She's done 2 weeks. So it's a week of it's 4 days cleanse.
Right. Okay.
So that's
juices.
No, it's a clay-based cleanse.
Oh, bentonite.
Bentonite clay with psyllium husk, some other bits as well, all in one. So you have that 5 times a day. Really flushes you out. It's tremendous. You feel great after that. Well, the first 2 days, because I've done those 4 days. Yeah. Those first 2 days are hard going. Yeah. Then the 3rd day gets easy, and the 4th day actually it's fine. Wow. You don't feel a problem at all.
Headaches?
Nope, I didn't get any headaches because you would get headache. Yeah, I don't do caffeine. Yeah. So you'd get the headaches, of course. if you're
withdrawals.
Withdrawals,
Yeah.
but we don't have those anyway.
Yeah.
So we don't get the withdrawals really.
Yeah.
Which is lucky. We don't have sugar either really. We rarely have sugar, so we're generally
pretty clean.
Yeah, we're pretty clean.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then after that, you go on to water only for 3 days. So she did the 4-day clay cleanse, then 3 days water, and then it's juices after that.
Wow.
And then you don't introduce food until 2 weeks, and then it's only raw food.
That is hardcore.
Yeah, proper hardcore. But it's amazing because after, there's lots of studies done and that sort of thing, and apparently after 4 days or 5 days or something like that, you regenerate all the cells in your body.
Yeah,
It's just an amazing way of regenerating your body's immune system and all sorts of things, because your body goes into a fight or flight mode, so it starts healing itself as much as possible.
Correct.
Because it thinks, I'm not going to get any more food, so I've got to be as fit and as strong as I possibly can.
Correct.
And I mean, her eyes, you're right about the eyes.
Yeah.
Well, interesting that your couple said that. That's her clean eyes, and that's what Kelly's got at the moment after her 2 weeks. So the pupils, not the pupils, the whites of the eyes are so vivid, so white, and so clear in the head.
I may need to give that a go when I get home.
It's full on. It's really full on. It's really full on. But it's good though, and we've lived like this for a long time actually. Kelly did a year-long course as well actually into self-love and helping herself and things like that, and that's
Really
helped
as well.
immensely. And that was all part of this actually. The cleanse was all part of that, and so she's just carrying that thing on.
That's so cool.
But it's really good. You got to look after yourself, haven't you? As
You
get
do,
older.
and I think that there's so many studies that, you know, when you reduce, even with the studies in mice, when they reduce their calorie intake, their longevity.
Absolutely right.
There's just so much more.
Yeah.
And I'm blown away by how much energy I have. Actually, Paul Green in Australia, he does this as well.
Oh, does he?
And he just says it's incredible how much energy he has. When he does these.
Yeah,
fasts.
because people, I couldn't possibly not do that. I wouldn't have any energy if I don't eat.
But it's the exact opposite.
It's the opposite.
It's like
the absolute opposite.
It's like having an espresso.
Yeah.
Whoa, you just feel so awake.
Yeah. We don't eat anywhere near as much as we used to eat.
You don't need to. And Alan and I are the same. And we just try and eat as good as we can when we do eat.
I've just done 60 days of Insanity as well. You heard of Insanity?
No.
Training program?
No.
Yeah, 60 days.
Is that gym?
Yeah, well it's not, it's at home. You do
Oh,
it,
okay.
I did it in the garden, in the rain and everything.
Oh wow.
So yeah, 60 days non-stop every day. Yeah, so I haven't changed what I eat
That's
at all.
amazing.
Yeah, your body does find a way.
Yep.
You know, I've got a six-pack again now.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
So it's great.
And you know, this is something I read the other day, that, you know, muscle has no age limit in that sense. That it doesn't matter what age you are, if you're doing some sort of weight-bearing exercises, your body will react to it.
So important.
And,
the older you get, the more weight you need to do.
Absolutely correct. And you know, I've always been a bit into those sorts of things. All the kids at the studio joke with me about, you know, my apple cider vinegar and my magnesium.
Oh yeah, we were taking apple cider vinegar. We've stopped now.
All right.
Because there's some evidence it's not so good on the liver.
Oh right, okay. Yeah.
So we've stopped that.
Interesting.
Just to tell you.
Yeah.
But we do take stuff.
Yeah.
There's we take a multivitamin every day. It's a great. There's 3 of them. I'll have to show you. I can't remember what it's called now. Just Juice, I think it's called. Juice Plus.
Yeah.
It was really good. They're really good. We take those every day. And also, I've got my super secret ingredient. I take a thing called NMN.
Oh, I've actually ordered this. I was told to start taking it. It's supposed to be amazing.
Yeah.
Is it powdered or
Yeah, it's powder.
Yeah.
Powder. So we've been taking that along with a thing called resveratrol.
Yeah, that's anti-aging.
Yep. Take the thing together, and it takes about 2 weeks to kick in. Makes a massive difference.
Oh, that's interesting. I've actually ordered some of that from my local place.
Yeah, it's really good.
But see, this is, you know, during the whole sort of COVID thing, I was absolutely avid, like, reading so much stuff just to learn about how to boost your immune system, how to protect the family, you know, because I really had to sort of like try and protect Alan as much as possible. And the stuff that I found was phenomenal. And I thought it was really quite interesting, you know, when they talk on the news about these certain drugs that you weren't allowed to take for COVID.
Right.
And I thought, oh, there must be a natural alternative. So let's look at this. What's a natural alternative to these things? Let's see what we can do.
Vitamin D was a good thing.
Oh, absolutely. Well,
vitamin D. Get outside, get some
our first
sun.
lockdown, it was beautiful because we had beautiful weather. So
did we,
I just
actually.
got a great tan.
Yeah.
You know, and then I didn't realise how important vitamin D was. And you know, even living in Australia, we still don't get enough. So you guys definitely don't get enough.
Yeah, we take that as a supplement. as well.
Same. So I've got the kids on that, and you know, quercetin and all these sorts of things, and yeah, big learning curve.
There's so many things. The odd thing as well during that whole period of time was that.
Where's this? This is beautiful.
We are in Cobham.
This is beautiful.
It is nice, isn't it?
Wow.
It's nice. Yeah.
So nice.
One of the things that is interesting, throughout all this time, no one at any point said, right, you need to exercise. You need to exercise, get outside, get plenty of air, get some vitamin D, vitamin C in you. No, it was none of that. It was like, stay indoors, be scared out of your wits, and take all these drugs that we're going to make you take. And none of it was about looking after yourself and getting fitter, getting healthy. It's nonsense. And I'm quite cynical about it all, but it's all about keeping people just alive enough so they can take enough of your medication to keep you alive. Make you sick, so you're not nearly dead, not quite dead, but then keep taking our drugs so that you stay alive for a bit longer.
Yeah, I've had this experience with my mum, you know, learning, like, the older you get, the more drugs they seem to want you to take.
Yeah, they do.
And the side effects are quite horrific, actually.
And then they take drugs to mitigate the side effects.
Correct.
So it's nonsense.
Correct. And
I had the same thing with my parents, and it's so difficult.
It is difficult.
It's so difficult. I just say, well, just go out for a walk. Just do this. Take some of this natural stuff.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to change habits of a lifetime.
Because they're very secure with their doctor. And
I'm not even registered with a doctor.
Drugs. Oh wow.
I've been registered with a doctor for 7 years.
Wow. We've got a great GP in Australia, so you know he's they call it integrative doctor. So
So he integrates into your family, does he? He pops in. Does he? You wake up in the morning having that coffee with Alan, and he pops his head in.
He's really nice.
Just cough, please, Alan. Cough, please.
He's really nice.
Just jump into these stirrups for me, Donna.
No, but it is quite funny because our GP, he's obviously a GP, and his wife's a naturopath. So
okay.
It's quite interesting. Okay. So that would be an interesting conversation over a wine at night or whatever. But yeah, we've got a great GP, so very confident in him. Yeah, so it's been an interesting time.
I think that that prolonged period of being stuck indoors for everyone, it gave a lot of people, some people used the opportunity to learn, didn't they? And educate themselves. I know that we did.
Yeah.
I learned how to do lots of different things. Doing the sort of thing I'm doing right now, actually. Learn how to edit videos and that sort of thing. But also to find out who you really are and what you're about. We were very spiritual. Very, very spiritual. We meditate daily all the time, and we go into lots of
Alan's just starting to do meditation, actually.
Is he? It's tremendous.
Yeah.
There's some great ones. I'll share some bits with you actually.
Love that.
Yeah. And one of the things, as you were saying, studying and learning about what are we doing to ourselves? What are we taking? What do we put into our bodies? What does it actually do to us? And so if you've got a healthy gut, you've got a healthy mind, that sort of thing. So if you start eating all of this nonsense or drinking these things, or putting this medication into your body, it actually isn't necessarily a good thing. It's not a good thing.
I just think limit the things that you take. You know, just try and be as natural and as clean as possible. And
I don't take any. I don't even take painkillers.
Oh, good.
But I don't get a headache.
You sound like Timothy House.
I don't get any headaches.
Taking a Panadol ever.
But I mean, I've cured a lot of my aches and pains with CBD oil.
Oh, it's interesting you brought that up.
And turmeric and flaxseed.
See, that's interesting because my mum actually is on CBD.
Yep.
And she was on quite a strong drug that she was struggling with. It was making it very off balance. And so we had a look at this. She swears by it.
Oh, it's amazing.
Absolutely swears by it.
It's brilliant.
Yep.
I take it every day.
No pain, sleeps at night.
I was getting arthritis in my hands.
Oh wow.
In my thumb, particularly in a couple of my fingers. And so I did some research. This was during the lockdown period. So, and I found out that CBD can help. So I just got the strongest CBD I possibly could. Yes. Gone.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Absolutely gone. And I don't get any pain now. I've got an ongoing chronic problem with my shoulder because it's just years and years of abuse. I've got lots of scar tissue in there from years of holding people up.
Yeah.
And I'm looking like that in promenade and stuff. So that's a bit of an ongoing problem, but it's nowhere near as bad as it was. And I put it all down to the CBD oil every day because it just helps with your joints, and the flaxseed and the turmeric, because these are all natural healers.
Well, we have
it's natural stuff.
There's like clinics opening up in Australia now for this.
Right.
So it's all above board.
Well, there's no THC in it, so it's not hallucinogenic.
Yeah, correct.
I mean, the pure cannabis oil is a bit better.
Right.
The absolutely pure stuff is a bit more potent, but you do tend to fall asleep.
And get the munchies off.
Yeah, well, if you fall asleep, it's not so bad, is it? Yeah, but it's not so bad getting the munchies if you get the munchies with celery.
Oh,
that's all right, see? So you got plenty. So you only eat what's in your fridge, don't you, or in your cupboard?
There you go. There you
if
go.
you haven't got any crap in your cupboard or your fridge,
you just eat.
You only eat good stuff, aren't you? And I tell you, when you're really hungry, celery really fills a hole.
Celery's great.
It is good. You should have celery juice in the mornings. No, not butter. No, I know it's good. Yeah, I agree with you.
I like that.
No, I know it's nice, but
celery juice. So what do you put in your juices?
Nothing. Celery. Pure celery juice.
Oh, does it taste nice?
No. Of course it doesn't. Celery juice. But you get used to it. But it's
good.
It's really good for you.
Taste like, no.
It's a cleanser. It's really good for you.
It's anti-inflammatory.
Yeah.
I know that.
It's really good for you.
I know that much.
It's really good. Because you were always into the healthy food stuff anyway when I was in Australia with you.
I still
I'm
get
disappointed that you eat meat again now.
Don't judge.
I'm not judging. I'm just disappointed.
You're vegan. You do judge.
I'm just I'm plant-based rather than vegan because I've got leather shoes on.
Oh.
Yeah. So veganism is and obviously you're sat on a leather bloody suede seat.
Yes. So.
Veganism, it's a philosophy, isn't it? To do as little harm to animals as you possibly can.
Yes.
But I don't eat meat. I don't eat meat. We rarely eat fish. We only ever eat that sort of thing if we travel. And often when we travel, it's so difficult, particularly Italy and France. It's really hard to try and find places. And if you're traveling and you're doing a job and they're looking after you, it's really difficult then to say, oh, I'm afraid I can't eat any of that.
Yeah, it's hard. That's
and then
hard.
they think, oh God, I better not eat this.
And what about Ella? Is she plant-based as well?
She's not plant-based, she's vegetarian.
Right,
she's never wanted to eat meat, ever.
Oh wow.
So she's 9 now.
Because you didn't offer it to her? Or...
No, because she's 9. So we've only been plant-based for 6 years.
Right.
So before that, we'd try and get her to eat what we were eating.
Yeah,
we were quite big meat eaters, especially chicken and beef.
Yeah.
So we would offer her and she would spit it out. Always. She never ate it. Never ever ate it. Ham, nothing.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah. So we don't force her with anything. She makes her own decisions, no choices.
Yes.
So she doesn't eat any meat at all.
Wow, that's really interesting.
No, she never has done.
Wow.
Which is great. And she's fit. She's strong. She's healthy.
That's amazing.
Yeah, no problems.
Yeah.
And it was difficult for members of my family to think, oh, she's not getting enough. She doesn't get enough. She needs to eat some meat.
Look at the child and just.
She's vibrant.
Yeah.
She's so vibrant and energized and stuff. It's great. She's good. She's good.
Yeah. I don't think my 2 could cut out meat. Freya probably could. She loves vegetables and salads. Charlie's 6'2", nearly 3 at 14.
Yeah, I know. He's tall.
And he's a unit,
Yeah.
And he does love his eggs and things like that.
I've not got such a problem sometimes with certain things at all, but especially free range.
Yes.
A couple that we teach.
So it's all about treatment of the animals, more so than not liking to eat meat.
No, I won't eat it. I will never eat meat again in my life, ever.
Wow.
Ever.
That's interesting.
Because I don't want rotten flesh in my stomach.
Oh, that's strong.
Well, it is, though, isn't it? It's what it is. When the apocalypse happens, and I have to go out and forage and find meat, and if I have to go and shoot a deer with an arrow, I'll eat it. But unless I'm going out there killing the animal, gutting it, and butchering it and turning it into food, I can't do it. If I can't do that, I can't eat it.
Wow.
I can't do it because I know exactly how that meat gets to our table. I know exactly, and I can't. It's not right.
Yeah, I respect.
It's not right. And I know some people say, oh, they have a lovely life. They live on this lovely big pasture and they eat great fresh grass. They have a lovely life, and they don't know they have a great life until you shoot them in the head.
Okay.
You shoot them in the head.
We need to move away from this.
Then you kill them, don't you?
Okay, I was like, oh.
Well, you're still killing them to eat them. Oh, but they have a lovely life. So even with free range eggs and that sort of thing, because even in England they've got rules with free range, and I think it's 20 minutes a day. That's it. They only have to be outside for 20 minutes a day.
I buy organic eggs.
Yeah, so if you know the farm, or whatever, and they've got them running around, I haven't got an issue with that, and in the slightest. I mean, we don't have them very often. Yeah. But because friends of ours did have chickens, they had a fox get in and killed them. Unfortunately, it was tragic, and they were like part of the family. Because chickens are super intelligent as well. Wow. They like run around like a little puppy. Super intelligent. Yeah. So every now and then Ella would have those eggs, and sometimes we'd have them. Sometimes, but most of the time, the food that you have from the supermarket, that sort of thing, it's not great.
Well, see, in our little town, we have 2 fantastic shops where we buy our groceries, and one's a co-op, and it's all organic produce from local areas, and it's fantastic. I love going in there.
Yeah.
And we just have great places to buy food where we are. You know, there's that, definitely, it's in Australia, especially where we are, there's the butchers, all the meat is pasture raised, no antibiotics, no crap.
Yeah.
You know, even the pork they buy, it's sulfate free or nitrate free. So we've got access to really good produce where we live.
Yeah.
But
yeah, if you're going to eat meat, you want to eat it you want to eat stuff that's been looked after and not been pumped full of rubbish to beef it up and that sort of thing. It's just terrible.
And it is really difficult to actually source that.
Yeah, I know.
It's really hard. And you know, so if I do eat meat, it's organic. It's
all right, Don. I'm not judging you.
You are.
But you have to know how it gets there. And if you're okay with that, that's fine.
Okay.
If you're okay with that. But I mean, Ella wanted to see as well. She asked to see. She wanted to know. And she was younger. She was 5, and so she sat there. She wanted to see it. She sat there, no emotion. She wasn't shocked by it all, and she said, "Yeah, Daddy, I don't ever want to eat meat ever again. This is terrible. It's terrible." So we saw the abattoirs, and the pigs, and the chickens, and the cows and stuff, and she wanted to know. And I said, "Do you really want to know?" She said, "Yes."
Wow.
Because she wants to be a sanctuary vet. Well, I think she just wants to have a sanctuary, actually, look after animals. She's all she's ever wanted to do since she was a baby.
That's so cute.
I know.
Well, our dog's rescue. Our puppy.
Yeah. So you're getting a bit cold?
A little.
Sorry, it's quite low, isn't it?
Yeah.
The sun's gone in, see.
The sun.
See, where I live on the tropical south coast, it's always hot.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's hot.
Oh, sure. Of course it is.
Yeah.
Actually, no, London the weather's been nice since I've been here, which is great.
Tipped it down the other day, though. You must have missed that.
It used to get a bit gloomy. You know, it's home a little bit.
It's not cold, it's 19.5 degrees.
Oh, no, I give it that.
Clouds are in.
Yeah, I give it that.
Yeah. So how long have you had this dog?
So Hennessey, we've had him.
Hennessey?
His name's Hennessey.
Named.
We didn't name him, no.
You didn't? Oh, okay.
But yeah, it's appropriate. But oh, what a dog! And our beautiful chocolate lab, he died just before COVID started.
Right.
Yeah, and died in his sleep.
Oh, well, that's the best way.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
And you know, that was it.
And he had a lovely life.
Oh.
He was looked after.
Oh.
Wasn't he? He was loved more than anyone.
So loved.
Yeah.
And so Alan was like adamant, we don't get another dog. This is no. He was heartbroken. Alan was heartbroken, but Alan very much so. And then during COVID, can't quite put the time on it, but one of our students, his mum's a vet, and she called us and said this black Labrador's been brought in.
Right.
He's registered with Labrador Adoption. I think he'd be great for you. And she said he's 55 kilos. So,
that is a big
and I thought,
dog.
This is a big dog. He's going to need a lot of exercise. So this is perfect for lockdown.
Yeah.
You know, but it wasn't the fact that he was a chunker. He was just a big dog.
Just massive, like a little small horse.
Yeah. And we had one student that we'd helped a little bit with money exchange, money, a tail suit, and he owed us a little bit of money. And so he said, well, I'll buy the dog for you. So we got the dog, and it was really crazy because it's like we got him home and he didn't bark and he wouldn't sit on the sofa, petrified of getting in the car, and but now he sleeps on the sofa or with us and waits beside the car to go to the beach, and worked out to get himself outside of the gate so he can wait beside the car to go to the beach, and loves the beach and barks his backside off every day.
Yeah, wonderful.
So he's beautiful.
How old is he?
He's 7 in November.
Right, okay.
Pretty sure. But
so why was he a rescue? What happened there? Do you know?
He ended up at the pound. There's nobody knows the story.
Oh, really?
But he's just magnificent and so affectionate and regal and just a beautiful
so
dog.
the pound named him Hennessey then?
Yes. So the pound, I think Labrador's adoption. They took him or started looking after him, and yeah.
So he was just wandering the streets, was he? And they found him.
I don't know the story. All I know is was at the pound.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the dog that he is, I don't think he would have coped with that particularly well.
Right.
You know, he loves company.
Yeah.
You know. So. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you've had your little taste of England so far. You're not quite finished yet. So are you moving back, or you're not going to bother because the traffic's too bad?
Well, if you had have asked me the other night when I drove home,
you said on the phone, I'm never coming back.
I'm never coming back.
I
thought if someone had said, if you want to fly home tonight, you can. I think I would have taken it.
Yeah.
I feel like I've got PTSD with it. It was awful. It was awful. It scared me a little.
Yeah.
But Alan and I always toyed with the idea of maybe when the kids are older doing 2 summers.
Right.
And I would fancy owning something over here, and I think he would like to.
It's not the best time to be buying anything over here.
No, it's not. But you know, we've got a few years before the kids are old enough before we would even consider that. You know, maybe.
That might be right then, because the crash might happen by then.
Well, maybe one of the kids would like to come. I know Charlie has been absolutely petrified of flying since he was about 7.
Right.
So that's really messed up things. He would not get on a plane to come to England, and I did contemplate, you know, giving him drugs to put him to sleep or something like that. But he's big enough
like
now.
I think B.A. Baracus in the 80. Ain't getting on plane.
But I think he's big enough now, I think, to be able to do something like that. He desperately wants to come and see Manchester United play.
Right. He's been on a plane though, hasn't he? Though
he did.
Where did he go? Went to Hong Kong, right?
No, to Perth.
Oh, Perth.
Man U were training there.
Oh, was it only to Perth he flew to?
And Alan used his points and put him in business so that he had, you know, could enjoy it. Because it's 5 hours.
Yeah, I know. It's a long old way, isn't it?
And he did that, but I haven't been able to coerce him to do anything else, even short haul.
It's a little bit of a long way to England.
It is, and you know, as you get older, like the thought of this journey, I think it was 9.5 hours to Hong Kong and then 14.5 to London. I did it in one leg, one go.
We're going to Australia for Christmas.
Yeah, that's so cool. So cool. Actually, we should try and get Charlie on a plane and come up and visit you guys.
Well, we're going to Cairns.
Oh my gosh,
we've got a
I love
house in Cairns.
Oh, Cairns, it's so
fantastic. So it's got loads of bedrooms. You can pop up and visit.
That could be a possibility.
Yeah.
Cairns is awesome.
Yeah, I've never been to Cairns.
Oh.
But that's where Kelly's brother lives.
Oh, it's fantastic.
So we're going up there.
You've got to go to Palm Cove, which is really near there, not far. And that's where we used to go holidaying every year.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
So there's no chance at the moment that you're not moving back yet. You're still going to...
No, but I think...
Still going to lounge around the beach.
I think it's important for Alan to come back regularly to see family and you know, to be in it. He really enjoys his time over here very much and enjoys seeing friends and stuff.
So you've replaced him this time, haven't you?
I have. Yeah.
It was supposed to be him, wasn't it?
It was supposed to be Alan, you know, but he's having some treatments and he needs to be. He probably still would have come, but he had to come home to see his mum was quite ill, so he was over here for a few months around Blackpool time.
Yep.
And then came home, and literally within a week he had to turn around and come back because his mum was taken to hospital.
Right.
And so yeah, and they said you needed to come home, but she recovered and she's looking great.
Oh,
so
good.
yeah, so he had to be in Australia for this time. So I'm here.
Well, it's nice to have you.
Yeah.
It's nice to have you. I'm sure people are very delighted to see you. It's not like you're here very often, is it?
I know. It is nice to be back. It'll be nice to go and see some dancing.
You're looking forward to the international?
Yeah, I am actually. I am. It's something that I've never done.
You've never watched the international?
Since we've retired, no, I haven't been. I haven't judged it. I actually haven't judged anything really. Alan's the one that always gets invited.
Do you think that's your own fault though? Because I used to want to have lessons with you, and you said no, have lessons with Alan. And I wanted to have lessons with you. I didn't want lessons with Alan. I wanted to dance with you. Because I wanted.
Really do that? Did I really do that?
Yeah, you did.
So
you don't want me. You want him. I'm like, no, I don't. I want you. I would have been so much better. I would have been. Seriously.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Because he used to talk too much. And with you, I'd actually get some dancing done.
I'm so sorry.
Hold him wholly accountable.
There was maybe one time I was invited, but I was pregnant with Charlie.
Right.
And before Freya, I had a miscarriage, so I was a little bit nervous. I didn't really want to travel pregnant.
Yeah.
But then, you know, it's always Alan. Alan always gets invited, which is okay.
Well, I suppose, of course, as well, when you've got children at home.
Exactly.
It's typical, isn't it?
Exactly.
I mean, the work. Kelly has now started doing some little jobs abroad. But it's always been me. Not that we get asked very often at all, actually. But Kelly did judge a Worlds this year in Italy. But normally, if anyone asks, it would always be me. Yeah. It would always be me.
Yeah,
they ask.
And also for Alan, you know, it's nice and incentive because he gets to see his mum and dad.
Yeah, of course.
You know,
of course. But it's a long way for you to come to judge an international or anything really and get paid, you know, just like a packet of crisps and a half pint of lager, isn't it?
It is a long journey.
Because you haven't because they don't pay your flight, do they?
No. No. And no competitions really that you do in Europe. You get that. In China and Asia, yes.
We pay.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but I'm not paying for Australia.
I don't blame you.
So if you're in England in April next year, you judge my comp, but I'm not paying for your flight.
And you know, to run an event, you know, you organisers have incredible costs. So
people I don't think people really quite understand, actually. Yeah. They don't understand.
It's frightening.
It's bonkers.
It's frightening.
It's bonkers, and then you've got to try and make money out of it.
Yeah.
It's bonkers. We made a loss last time.
Yeah,
significant.
Yeah.
First time though. We've made money on all the other comps.
It's hard.
It is tough. It's tough. And then more and more, and I don't know if you have this, well, you wouldn't necessarily realise this in Australia perhaps, but in Europe now, you've probably seen it, there are so many comps now. So many.
But that's how a lot of the couples earn their money now, isn't it? By competing.
Well, they can't. Well, yes and no. But I've got 6 Pro-Am students now.
Yes.
I did only have 2. I've got some more new ones. They've only got so much money.
Yeah.
And if there's now in March, our comp was in March next year. We moved it because there were 5 comps in March.
Wow.
5, and there's only 4 weekends.
Wow. Yeah.
And it's impossible for everyone to do all of the comps.
Yeah, correct. And also impossible for you too.
Well, yeah.
I've got family.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
And these ladies, because they're presuming, oh, we'll just do a Pro-Am comp. It's all right. They'll all come and pay. Well, a lot of them are still working.
Yeah.
So they can't just magic up.
So you have to pick and choose really what you're going to do.
So and it's stupid really, because they're thinking, oh, we'll run a comp and we'll get all these people to come. Well, they won't, because they want to do the comp the week after, or the comp the week before. So I'm firmly of the opinion that all of us that run comps in England should be all working together to maximise it. Yeah, to maximise it. So we all work together to maximise it. So the comp it's great for everyone concerned.
I think
but no one wants to do that.
Doesn't that make sense though?
Makes perfect sense. Yeah. But they all want to be their own person, don't they? They want to do their own thing, and no, we'll do it. Our comp's going to be better. Everyone's going to come to our comp because it's my comp.
You'd be all more successful if it was all spaced correctly.
Well, wouldn't it be lovely? Wouldn't it be lovely?
Well, that's business sense, doesn't it?
It does make business sense. But the thing is, of course, it's not just in England, because more and more people are. I think that there's a generation of dancers that are reaching a certain age.
Right.
That think, right, I want to run a comp.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's what I said earlier, isn't it? All the old ones are still running comps. There's too many. It's too many. It's time for people to take a step back and say, you know what, my time is done. I'm going to pass the baton on to someone else. That's what I think anyway. Yeah, that's what I think. But they don't want to admit it. They don't want to admit that they're surplus to requirements or there's people that are better than them. I remember a very famous old teacher saying, not being able to admit that there's anyone actually dancing that's better than him. I'm not going to park in there just yet.
Okay.
Yeah. And you think, well, you're 120. You know, how can you possibly say that no one dancing today is as good as you are? They're all better than you. The juveniles are better than you. It's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. Yeah. So we've all got to realise we've all got a shelf life.
We all do.
And I always thought, and I'd like to think you think the same, my job as a coach or a teacher now is to make anyone that walks in the door better than I ever was.
Correct.
That's my job.
Yeah, that's
and if I've done that, I've achieved. I'm happy.
Yes.
If they're not, then they either can't necessarily do it or I haven't worked hard enough.
Yeah.
I could never think that, there's a lot of them that don't make them as good because they don't want them to be better. They stifle them.
Do you think that's true?
Oh, definitely. 100%. Because they've got such an ego, they can't possibly accept that someone could be better than them.
But there would be no greater joy to have a student, for me, to have an Aussie that could do what I did better. Oh my goodness. It would just be, I'd be so incredibly proud.
Me too. But you're not so egotistical, are you?
Oh, I don't think I am.
No.
But I would love that, you know, and I find it so frustrating, you know, when you get kids to a certain level and they just, especially in Australia, oh, that's it. And you're like, no, I've given you my heart. And it's like, yeah, but I'd love to be able to do that.
I want to do it as well. We've changed our business so that we can do that now, because we've always been social. So
but that's such an important side as well, though.
Oh, it is.
The social side of our business is so important.
I've just got people to do that for me now.
Yeah, of course.
And I'm going to focus more on the competitive thing. We're going to put ourselves into it so that we can actually make a difference, because I feel that we can.
The thing is like what I find, we've had couples in Australia where we've taken them from absolute sort of like low level beginner to reaching the top in their own country. And I think that that you don't see a lot anymore. You know, you get these teachers get all these couples that are already made dancers.
Yeah.
You know, to do that, and maybe that's what you've got to do. Develop it from scratch.
Well, that means you then got to teach kids, and we don't teach kids.
Why
we don't
not?
have that. Well, the facility that we have isn't geared up for that.
Right. Okay.
Because of insurance purposes, actually.
Understand.
So it's difficult for us to do that. But there are a number of amateur couples in England, and even some of the pros that need a younger, fresher eye, different words, because what they're doing currently is not working, and they need someone who's prepared to give them their everything. Because you had the lessons, I had the lessons. You go in, you're just written in pencil.
But you know, from experiences though, you know, you're just another lesson by the day. I've had experiences where you can give your couples everything, but they still turn their back and go. You know, and you're heartbroken. You know, I'm just wondering how many times that's happened to teachers over here, and that's why they're like the way they are. That you just.
Yeah, but unfortunately, you can't go into it with fear like that, can you? You can't. I mean, it's easy to be hurt like that and allow that to cloud your judgment, let's say, or perhaps stop you from wanting to help someone in the future.
You can't change the desire.
Yeah.
The desire to do it.
Yeah. No,
Anyway, wasn't that controversial?
Hour and 45 minutes.
That wasn't that controversial.
No.
We did good.
We could have so easily made it much
Did
more
I
controversial.
divert some of them?
You battered them away a little bit.
You noticed.
It's all right. It's all right. Well, thank you for being a dancer in my car.
Thank you. This was great.
This is driving a dancer. It's great. Thank you very much.
I can't believe it. We didn't stop talking.
I know, but that's the idea.
That's so good.
You don't want dead air, do you? I'd be good on the radio.
You'd be really good on the radio.
We'd both be good on the radio, but we could do the drive time show, couldn't we?
Oh, God.
Couldn't we?
James and Don.
JJ.
Don.
Don. James and Don. Is that your name?
James and Don. Yeah, Don.
I could change that as well.
James, JG.
Yeah. Right, bugger off.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It was really cool.
Cool.